appears that a boiling hot liquid was either poured on the baby or spilled onto the baby. And even more disturbing about this is that we found out that this actually occurred on Friday evening. And my understanding is that the suspects in the case, who we're about to show pictures of, her parents, chose to not seek medical care, medical attention for her, and instead thought that injecting her with methamphetamine would help with the pain. And so, quite frankly, again, it's just an infuriating case, and I'll give you the details as we know them. So on Friday evening, as we understand it, Amanda Mann was at home with several children. I believe it's a total of 6 children in this case. All of them her children. I will give you the ages of the kids. 2-month-old twins that were just born, and my understanding is, as I'm understanding this right now, she had these babies at home, delivered them herself, her twins, and they haven't had medical attention to speak of since their birth about a month ago. The 1-year-old baby that was injured, a 2-year-old male, a 6-year-old male, and an 8-year-old male who was left to take care of all these other children while she and her husband or significant other went to get medical care for the other baby over 24 hours later, and she left the 8-year-old in charge of the others. But what we understand is that she called her significant other, probably most likely the father of the baby, on Friday evening, saying that she needed burn ointment for the baby. That's the other suspect in the case. That's who we believe to be the father of the baby. She called Dustin on Friday evening to tell him that the baby had been burned. The information that we got initially was that the baby may have been burned in the shower. We then later got a little bit more truth out of her, and it seems like there was a pot of boiling water on the stove. They were making spaghetti, and that somehow, we still don't have clear indication on this, somehow that water spilled onto the baby, whether she pulled it down on herself or it was intentionally done or accidentally done by an adult, we just don't know. But initially he came home with burn ointment, and they tried to treat the baby with burn ointment on Friday night. Unbeknownst to us, I think that's when they tried to inject her with some medication, or with the methamphetamine, I should say, and the baby was able to, quote unquote, sleep through the night into Saturday morning. This next part is pretty tough to even talk about, but I'll do my best. That next day, when the baby woke up and they pulled the sheets off of her, her skin came off onto the sheets. It stuck to the sheets. Even then, they I guess continued to try to treat the baby with whatever ointment they had. Obviously, I think in my estimation, these people knew that they were going to be in huge trouble, and so they just decided to try to keep it quiet. Nonetheless, the baby continued to have physical issues, obviously. They were trying to drain. She started to I guess, have breathing problems, and so they indicated that they used a bulb to try to pull some of the mucus out of her nose, but then also gave her chest compressions. So I don't know that the baby ever lost consciousness or what they thought they were accomplishing with the chest compressions, but at any rate, the baby, they called for a family friend that came over and saw, and thankfully that man said we should take this baby to the hospital, which is what they did. And so this is Saturday night now, long after over 24 hours after the initial burn. They came to the hospital. Again, SAPD took over started out with the case before realizing that it was ours, and so they handed it over to us. But at this point, these two folks are facing a litany of felony charges. Honestly, based upon the level of outright torture that this baby had to endure, I wish there was something else we could charge them with. In short of, and hopefully this baby's going to make it. That's what we're certainly all praying for right now. But should something else happen to that baby, I can guarantee you we will run to upgrade charges on these folks. But at this point, we have literally thrown every possible charge we could at these folks, and I hope to God they stay in jail for the better part of the rest of their lives based upon what we've seen with regard to that poor baby. I can't even imagine. The filth that this baby and the others were living in, they were all living in a small little RV. It's not even a home. It's an RV that they were living in. The filth and the risk of infection, again, the torture that they put this baby through, it's inhuman. I can't even imagine all of the things. So at this point, my understanding is CPS has taken all of these children from the custody of these two knuckleheads, for lack of a better term. And again, I hope those kids are in a much safer environment. It should be noted that at least one of the other children has tested positive for methamphetamine, the 6-year-old little boy. We don't have full details on how that little boy came to test positive for methamphetamine as well. Obviously, the other 2 babies that were born at home, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they were also testing positive for methamphetamine. Again, just an ugly, horrible case, and I can't even imagine where it's going to go from here. But again, we've done everything that we can with these folks to this point. Esta tarde vamos a dar información tocante a estos 2 sospechosos que se aparenta que el viernes por la noche una niña de un año de edad, estos 2 sospechosos son los padres de esa niña. Ella sufrió quemadas y no se sabe cómo ella se quemó, pero se aparenta que un líquido, se supone que agua que estaba en la estufa, se le cayó encima a la niña y la quemó en la cara y en el pecho, en la espalda, y ella sufrió heridas graves a causa de esas quemadas. Lo que se sabe es que las heridas esas pasaron el viernes por la noche. La niña la acostaron y ella, por lo que nos dicen los sospechosos, ella durmió durante la noche viernes entre el sábado. Ahora se piensa que ellos le dieron metanfetamina inyectada en el bracito de la niña y eso la causó que durmiera. Pero ahora sabemos que el sábado ellos intentaron tratar la niña en la casa por las quemadas y no tuvieron éxito, obviamente, por tan serias que estaban las quemadas. Ya la niña la llevaron para el hospital el sábado por la noche, ya más de 24 horas después de la quemada. La llevaron para el hospital. Ellos le hablaron a la policía de San Antonio, que ellos llegaron primero, los oficiales de la ciudad de San Antonio, empezaron la investigación ellos, pero ya averiguaron que el caso era de nosotros porque pasó en el condado de Bexar, no en la ciudad de San Antonio. Entonces ya nosotros llegamos el domingo y empezamos nuestra investigación. Pero se sabe que estos sospechosos a este punto, esos son todos los cargos que ellos se pueden enfrentar a causa de las heridas y las condiciones que nosotros encontramos a esta niña y otros 5 hermanitos y hermanitas que tienen la niña, cuates de un mes de edad, la niña que fue quemada, un niño de 2 años de edad, un niño de 6 años de edad, que ese niño también tiene metanfetamina en el sistema, pero hasta ahorita no se sabe cómo le entró eso al sistema, y un niño de 8 años de edad. Se supone que cuando estos sospechosos, ya cuando se les puso para traer la niña para el hospital, ellos dejaron el niño de 8 años de edad encargado de todos los otros niños en la casa. Simplemente lo abandonaron. Ahora la CPS del estado ya han quitado a los niños de esa casa y ojalá esta niña se pueda recuperar de sus heridas graves, pero estos 2 sospechosos deberían de estar en esta cárcel y ahí se van a quedar, ojalá. Any questions?
Habías dicho de que las quemaduras que se le pegaron a las sábanas
Sí, cuando la niña se durmió y cuando despertó el sábado en la mañana o algún día, en algún tiempo en el sábado, cuando le quitaron las sábanas, la piel de la niña se le quedó pegado a las sábanas. Entonces ya hasta con eso no la llevaron al hospital. Intentaron de seguir tratándola con medicina de la farmacia. Y ya un amigo de ellos los convenció que la deberían llevar con el doctor y es lo que hicieron.
Habías dicho también, pero de que varios niños tenían
la niña esta tiene metanfetamina en su sistema y el hermanito de 6 años también.
So obviously you talked about the litany of charges. You'd like to file more if possible.
Absolutely.
But right now this is all you can get. With what we have right now, there's some 3rd and 2nd degree felonies. What could that equal when we're talking about prison time?
Well, what I'm hoping for is that if and when, right, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in talking about that. I'm hoping there's prison time here, along with probably the vast majority of the public that hears about this case and is equally enraged by it. So at this point, I mean, what I'm hoping is that they don't, if and when it gets to that point, say, well, we're gonna put these charges to where they run concurrently. In other words, you're doing the same time for all of these charges. I would like to see something a little more strenuous happen to these folks. I would love to see it get to the point where they get consecutive terms. In other words, you don't get to serve this next one until you're finished with this time. Again, I know that's getting a bit ahead of myself, but I think in light of the fact that this little girl will absolutely be affected by this for the rest of her life. These other kids, although they were not burned, thank God that none of them suffered anything. I guarantee you they're going to be suffering with issues for the rest of their lives. Look, this 2-year-old or this year-old baby here, I didn't even mention this. She's about 2 feet in length, so 24 inches in length, and she only weighed 18 pounds. She's over a year old, about a year and a half old. That right there tells me that they've been starving. I guarantee you these kids had a living hell for a life, even up until this point. So again, these folks, there's I can't say anything good about these people at all. I hope they spend the rest of their lives in jail.
Can you repeat that in Spanish about the way?
Sí, esta niña, aunque tenía más que 1 año de edad, ella solamente tenía aproximadamente 24 pulgadas de altura y solamente pesaba 18 libras la niña.
And so we're talking about we're trying to figure out whether it was poured or spilled or all of those
Sure.
details. Is your goal to end up talking to them again in interview processes and
Oh.
to see what actually has happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We absolutely. We will certainly try to determine how and when. We're certainly going to talk to these folks again, but they gave conflicting stories. And in fact, when our deputies arrived at the hospital on Sunday, we couldn't even find her. She was out on the run. I don't know if you noticed that we put her picture out on social media yesterday as a person of interest because we were actively looking for her. Once we put that picture out, some officers or deputies that were there at the hospital found her milling around the parking lot. But I can tell you, these two monsters were more concerned with them getting away with this and not getting into trouble than they were for the safety of this little girl that was absolutely in a living hell with the pain that she was in. I can't even imagine.
¿Podría repetir la parte donde cómo estaba la descripción de la casa donde estos niños estaban viviendo y también cómo fue la aprehensión de estos dos individuos?
Sí, no, la casa es solamente una traila donde ellos estaban viviendo, un RV. Ellos, entre los 2 adultos y los 6 niños, ahí vivían allí y todo está bien sucio en la casa. Entonces ya el riesgo de infección para la niña tiene toda la carita quemada y ahí la tenían viviendo entre basura. Es un milagro que ella no ha sufrido infección a causa de eso.
¿Y cómo fue que ustedes llegaron a prender estos dos individuos?
Bueno, el padre lo arrestamos allí, él estaba en el hospital. La mujer se aparenta que había intentado de huir del hospital, pero la pescamos antes de eso, pero ahí estaba afuera del hospital.
¿Han estado cooperando con la investigación?
No, pues para nosotros nos están dando diferentes historias. La información que nos dan, nos las dan en pedacitos. Entonces, para nosotros es mejor arrestarlos ya de una vez con la información que nosotros tenemos y poder averiguar si logramos más información más al rato.
And he's definitely the father of the child. We don't know boyfriend.
That's what we
you're
believe.
being told.
That's what we're
Okay.
being told at
That
this
they live
point.
together
Yes,
regardless.
absolutely.
Okay.
Estaba diciendo que posiblemente estaban sufriendo de que no los estaban alimentando bien.
Sí, para nosotros no los estaban alimentando bien con el tamaño de esta niña, que más de 1 año de edad, a los 18 libras que pesa. El otro niño que tiene metanfetamina en el sistema, no se sabe por qué. Esta niña tiene inyecciones. Nosotros podemos ver dónde la inyectaron con metanfetamina. Y ya los 2 cuatitos de 1 mes ahí nacieron en esa casa. Y para nosotros pensamos que no los habían llevado con con un doctor. Entonces sí, hay gran chance que ellos maltrataron a estos niños toda su vida.
And so this was Amanda Mann, right? I didn't look at this, right?
Yes,
That
Amanda
week,
Mann.
The bolo from yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Amanda Kelly. I'll spell their names for you. Amanda, common spelling. Kelly, Kellye. And then Mann is Mann, 31 years of age. Dustin Michael Lawrence, 30 years of age. Those are believed to be the parents.
And so obviously our viewers that are seeing this right now streaming, this is a disgusting case and it's really difficult to hear, but just talk quickly about where the children are now and the care that they're getting.
Absolutely. No, disgusting is the correct word. I think it's an understatement. I can't think of a more appropriate word at this point, though. Living in squalor, obviously failure to thrive on this little girl. She's 18 pounds, 24 inches. So really no bigger than she was probably when she was born, and then maybe twice the weight at 18 pounds. So certainly failure to thrive. Positive for methamphetamine. We can see the needle tracks where they injected her with methamphetamine, and the information we have is that was to help her deal with the pain. And then 5 other children, 2 twins that were delivered there in those filthy living conditions. And then a 6-year-old that also tested positive for methamphetamine. We don't even know how that little boy had got methamphetamine in his system. I wouldn't be surprised if all of these children at some point show signs of that. And of course the issues that come along with having a child that's now addicted to methamphetamine or showing symptoms of having been exposed to methamphetamine while in the womb. These kids are in for a long road to recovery, but thankfully they're in the custody of the state at this point. I just hope that at some point we find out an update that they're doing as best as can be expected.
¿Tienen algún registro de que niños de 6 y 8 años ya estén asistiendo a alguna escuela?
No, nosotros, por lo que sabemos nosotros, los padres los sacaron de la escuela hace unos cuantos meses. The information that I just gave her was that the 6-year-old and 8-year-old at some point a few months ago were withdrawn from the school district, supposedly to be homeschooled. But I can see what their homeschooling consists of. And again, although it's a heartbreaking scenario to imagine these kids are in a shelter or with the state, it's 100 times better than what they were exposed in at this place with these people.
Está diciendo que no están con los padres, los familiares.
Ahorita están con las autoridades estatales y para nosotros, aunque eso es algo muy triste, también sabemos que es mucho más mejor que lo que estaban pasando en esa casa.
¿Algún mensaje para familiares o incluso compañeros de escuela que vean este tipo de situaciones?
Bueno, si alguien ve que un niño o niña sean maltratados, nos tienen que llamar a las autoridades. No tienen que dar el nombre o el número, solamente que nos hablen con la información. Nos pueden llamar a cualquier hora, 210-335-6000. Pueden ser anónimos, pero nosotros queremos sacar a estos niños de estas condiciones antes de que pase una tragedia así.
Just one more thing
Sure.
about the bigger picture. There is a huge fight against child abuse in this community. It's rampant. This is a perfect example.
Mhm.
What message do you have to the community?
Well, absolutely, you're right. It is rampant. It's my understanding is we're still leading a lot of the major cities in this kind of issue, and while against our best efforts, it's still something that continues to occur, and we all hear these heartbreaking cases on a daily basis. It's just an ongoing thing. So we would ask anybody to please, if you happen to see children living in a condition like this or exposed to living conditions like this that are clearly detrimental to their health, certainly before a tragedy like what happens this past weekend to this little girl, call us, 210-335-6000 or 911 if it's an emergency, if it's a matter of life and death. I would say in this instance, certainly a matter of life and death. Call us. You can remain anonymous. We just want the information, and then just tell us what's going on and where, and we'll go take care of it. But you do not have to give your name or number. We just want to know about it to get the kids out of these conditions before it's too late.
Thank you.
So I will brief on the second case if we can. Unless anybody's got any other questions on this. Okay, so Friday evening we were dispatched to the 7500 block of FM 78. It was initially reported as a crash. Once we arrived, we observed a 22-year-old victim, Nashley Lampon. Let me spell her name. Nashley Lampon. It appears that she had severe head injuries as a result of what we believe to be she may have been hit or fallen off of a car. Also found at that time by officers arriving, they were handed a 2-year-old baby boy that, come to find out, that is Miss Lampon's baby, a 2-year-old baby boy. The baby had a bandage on his leg, but when first responders unwrapped that bandage, they found that it appeared to be a gunshot wound to the baby, and the baby obviously was in a severe amount of pain, understandably so. And we were not able to get a straight story out of Nashley. She was not being cooperative with us at all. Matter of fact, due to her head injury and her level of intoxication, because she appeared to be intoxicated, we were able to piece together some of the information what we know to this point is that the victim, Nashley, and the baby, of course, were at a friend's apartment at that location. They were there partying during the course of the night. A lot of people were intoxicated, to include 2 of the suspects that were arrested in this case, and I'll give you their information here shortly. What we understand, though, from what we're gathering at this point, the information that we're being given at this point, is that there was a gun laying very near where the 2-year-old was, and the information is that the baby picked up the weapon and somehow shot himself in the leg. If I'm being honest with you, I don't 100% believe that that's what occurred, but that is a distinct possibility. So at this point, we're running on that premise, and people are actually in jail right now for that. Let me give you the names of the 2 people that have been booked at this point. Kobe Sullivan, 21 years of age. He already had active warrants for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, fraudulent use, possession of ID info, which is a 3rd-degree felony, and possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 2, 1 to 4 grams. He already had warrants for that. But he has been booked additionally for making a firearm accessible to a child, which unfortunately for us at this point, that's only a Class A misdemeanor. But also tampering with evidence and then injury to a child by omission, which is a 3rd-degree felony. What we understand is that Kobe and then 1 other person attempted to sanitize the crime scene. In other words, they may have cleaned up any blood evidence, and we did find some bloody articles of clothing and towels in a washing machine where it looks like they attempted to clean up and dispose of evidence in connection with the case. Again, obviously to not face charges for that baby being shot somehow. Kobe also admitted to us that at some point he claims he saw the weapon there near the baby. He recognized that as a dangerous situation and still did not remove it. This other suspect that's been arrested in this case, Lorenzo Williams, he's 25 years of age. He's facing charges of failure to ID to a peace officer, fictitious name. So in other words, he gave us a fake name out there. He was more concerned with protecting himself than helping us with this baby that had been shot. And assault bodily injury married, which I believe that was a pre-existing charge. Those were active warrants. My apologies. Those were active warrants on this suspect. We are actually in the process of looking for 2 other suspects in this case that have active warrants in connection with the injuries to this baby. I won't be releasing those names just yet because we are actively searching for those 2. So we hope to have information for you all here in a little while where we've made 2 additional arrests in this case. But again, suffice it to say, and we've seen this several times, just in this year, we've seen so many kids. Let's go on the premise that this story holds up, that this baby shot himself by getting hold of a weapon. Weapons and children don't mix. Those 2 should never be left unattended in any situation. A weapon should never be left within arm's reach of a child of any age, much less a 2-year-old. If that is indeed what happened here, and this baby did get a hold of a weapon, I think these charges are absolutely more than appropriate. But let me tell you this, and I can't say this emphatically enough. If at some point we find that somebody shot this baby, either intentionally or meant to shoot somebody else and accidentally shot the baby, whatever that may be, I promise you we'll be upgrading charges to whatever it is that we can. But once again, we got all these idiots out there getting drunk and forgetting about the fact that they also happen to be parents. Oh, and their baby's in the next room, but they're more concerned with partying with each other and covering for each other and getting high, getting stoned. And they lose track of the fact that a baby's alone in a room with a gun, if that's the case. Again, it's infuriating. I just can't, each of these cases that we're briefing you on today is enough to make anybody mad, especially somebody that's a parent or been in law enforcement for this long or in the media for this long. Each one of these alone is enough to send you over the edge. But two of them together in one weekend, it's way more than enough. Let me do the soundbite in Spanish, and then I'll open it up to whatever questions you might have on this. Esta mañana nosotros tenemos información tocante estos dos sospechosos que fueron arrestados. Se aparenta que el viernes por la noche oficiales fueron despachados a 7500 FM78 por reporte de un choque. Se aparenta que una mujer de 22 años de edad, Nashley Lampon, se cayó de un carro o fue atropellada por un carro, pero ella tenía heridas serias en la cabeza. Y también nos dieron un niño de 2 años de edad él tenía una banda en la piernita. Ya cuando le quitaron la banda, nuestros oficiales y los bomberos notaron que parecía un balazo que había sufrido el niño de 2 años. Entonces ya empezó a salir la historia. Se aparenta que la madre, Nashley Lampon, fue a una fiesta en una casa donde algo pasó y el niño fue baleado. Ahorita la historia que nosotros tenemos fue que el niño recogió una pistola que estaba ahí tirada. Él se dio un balazo él solo en la pierna. Con eso nosotros arrestamos a este sospechoso, Kobe Sullivan, que él nos admitió que él vio la pistola cerca del niño y no la recogió. Pero él tiene varios cargos en conexión con eso. También arrestamos otro sospechoso, Lorenzo Williams. Él tenía cargos ya de otros casos que no están relacionados con lo que pasó aquí. Ahorita estamos buscando otros 2 sospechosos en este caso. Pero nosotros quisiéramos más al rato tener más información que ya hemos arrestado a esos 2 sospechosos, pero eso sigue. Any questions regarding the shooting of the baby?
Yeah, I know you talked about additional charges and previous warrants. So can you just clarify, are these charges related to this case?
So Kobe had additional charges that were not related to the case.
Okay.
And then the new case that we have is the making the firearm accessible, the tampering with evidence because it looks like he tried to clean up the crime scene, and then injury to a child by omission, which is a 3rd-degree felony. Those are new charges on Kobe. On Lorenzo, my understanding is he's not facing charges with this.
The failed appeal was.
Oh, failed appeal is the new charge. My apologies.
Okay.
And then the assault, bodily injury, married is a pre-existing charge that has nothing to do with this.
Okay, and then just real quick with the
Sure.
With the incident that the officers came upon with Nashley Lampon, she had head injuries and appeared to be intoxicated. She was either hit by a car or fell off a car?
At this point, we're not clear because she has been a combination of uncooperative, the head injury, plus her high state of intoxication, plus the fact that I'll be honest, she's probably trying to cover up for one of these 2 idiots. So, as we understand it at this point, she either fell off of it, she jumped onto a car and fell off, or she was hit. Either way, she's got pretty substantial head injuries to the point where she was bleeding profusely. Initially, she tried to refuse medical care, but I mean, there's no doubt in my mind bad things would have happened to her had we just left her to her own devices at that point.
Okay. And it was just,
¿Ella está representando algunos cargos?
Es posible que en el futuro ella también se vaya a enfrentar con cargos, pero ahorita no, hasta este momento. The question was in Spanish is if Nashley is going to be facing charges. Absolutely. Later on down the road, it's possible she may face charges. At this point, we haven't charged her with anything. But again, if we find out that somehow she was culpable in the injury to that baby, absolutely she'll be facing charges.
Dices que estaban tratando de tapar la evidencia o limpiar.
Bueno, ellos, los sospechosos estos, que parece que intentaron lavar unas toallas y ropa del niño que tenía sangre, tenía evidencia. Ellos con afectar esa evidencia, ellos ya se van a enfrentar con cargos por tratar de dañar la escena de los hechos. Entonces, ya, si nosotros nos damos cuenta que hay otros que ayudaron con eso, también se van a enfrentar con cargos.
Es posible que el niño se tiró, pero no está.
Aunque alguien le tiró al niño o él se dio un balazo solo, esas 2 circunstancias alguien se va a enfrentar con cargos, lo que sea. pero si ya nos damos cuenta que alguien intentó darle un balazo a alguien más y le pegaron al niño por accidente, también se van a enfrentar con cargos.
El mensaje que estabas diciendo de armas con niños.
Sí, mira, ya hemos visto muchos casos feos, donde un niño recoge un arma de un novio de la madre, el padre, la madre, se encuentran un arma que alguien se descuida, y eso es algo que nunca debería pasar. Hay que tener máximo cuidado con las armas, con los niños. Nunca podemos dejar un niño solo con un arma, simplemente.
Are they still, the woman and the child still in medical care? I know it's been a few days.
Yes,
Okay,
they are.
understood.
Yeah, they are absolutely still in the hospital. My understanding is the baby suffered a leg fracture. So it looks like when the round went in, it fractured a leg. So I can't even imagine the amount of pain that baby is going through right now. Hopefully he will recover from that. And my understanding is that the state has stepped in that case as well, for obvious reasons. And so Nationally Lampon, even though she's looking at the possibility of charges later on down the road, she's also got a long road to recovery in front of her.
Mencionaste que el disparo lo encontraron EMS y ella no lo estaba reportando en el momento que
No,
dispararon.
se parece que le intentaron poner una banda al niño y a nosotros no nos dijeron qué fue lo que pasó. Ya cuando los bomberos y los oficiales le quitaron la banda, ya notaron que eso parece un balazo.
¿Podrías repetir lo de la condición médica de los dos?
Sí, el niño a causa del balazo se le quebró la pierna también. Entonces nosotros quisiéramos que el niño va a recuperarse de su herida. La madre, aunque ahorita no tiene cargos, es posible que se vaya a enfrentar con cargos ya más al rato, pero ella también tiene heridas serias a causa de lo que pasó con el carro. Entonces los dos van a estar en el hospital por un tiempo.
¿Ya habías dicho que se cayó del carro?
Pues ahorita no se sabe. Ella estaba bien intoxicada cuando nosotros llegamos. Estaba sangrando mucho de la cabeza y también no estaba cooperando con nosotros. Yo pienso que ella estaba tratando de cubrirle a estos dos lo que había pasado. Para mí, en mi opinión, parece que el beneficio de sus amigos, eso es más importante para esta madre que la seguridad de su niño. Eso es una tragedia. Pero ya, ellos dos van a estar en el hospital por un tiempo, pero ya el Estado también tiene ese niño bajo su custodia.
As far as we know, do we know if either of these are the father of the
I
child?
don't
or
know
they were
who
just
the-
at the party.
Yeah, I don't know that
Okay.
we've got. I don't even know that we have indication that at least one of these is even connected to the mom. Anyway, we do have some information that the mom may have been involved in some sort of disagreement with one of these two. So again, if it comes up, if the circumstances change later and we find out that somebody intended to shoot someone else and accidentally shot the baby, there will still be absolute charges on that. Quick as soon as we find that out. But again, we're still trying to get through the different stories we've gotten from everybody due to their state of intoxication and the fact that they're all trying to cover for themselves and not face additional charges.
The weapon was recovered?
We have not recovered a weapon. So we are actually, thank you for mentioning that, we have not recovered the weapon. And so we, again, would ask anybody that has information on this case, give us a call. You can remain anonymous. Call us at 210-335-6000. We do want to know where that weapon is. And once again, we won't say where we got the information from. We just need to get that gun off the streets.
Do you know what caliber it was?
I don't. No, sir, not at this point. Any other questions?
Si puede repetir en español, que aún están buscando la...
Sí, todavía no logramos encontrar la pistola que fue usada. Entonces, para nosotros, si alguien tiene información tocante a dónde esté esta pistola, la buscamos. Nos pueden llamar al 210-335-6000 y pueden ser anónimos. Okay. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Sheriff, are those kids in the first one at Childsafe? Are they at Childsafe? Because I know it was listed as Childsafe cases.
Oh, I think, because Childsafe is investigating it on
Okay,
our
because
end.
they're investigating.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
all I wanted to
Yeah,
make
but
sure.
I think they're
It's
at
the
CPS
Children's
custody.
Shelter, CPS. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my God, so it's 2.